What's up, Stu? Stu, camera's on. Come on, come on.
Hey,
Stay.
skip my book.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. We are live, and we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Periscope, and my website. We are not live. We are not live on Facebook again because I am back in the Facebook pokey. I hate Facebook. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't do anything. All I did was push go live on my phone, and they said change your password. I was like, oh crap, here we go again. So I changed my password, and they said, great job, you changed your password. By the way, you violated our community standards. Now again, last time it happened, it was 7 seconds of video. This time it was 2 seconds of video. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm good, but I'm not that good. I can't piss off an entire community in 2 minutes letting my chickens out. I have to get warmed up. So I am in Facebook jail as far as live video until March 3rd this time. No recourse, no nothing. I don't understand it. I really don't. And you know, so you might say, oh, it's only happening on your phone. No, it happened in StreamYard the first time, happened on my phone this time. So we are, somebody says FB sucks. So that's why we're going live from my site. And that's why we're doing some different stuff. I don't need Facebook to let my subscribers know I'm going live. I can send an email to let people know I'm going live.
That's awesome.
So there you go. So enough about Facebook. They suck. We know that. And it just don't make no sense, as they say. So Stu, it's been like what, 3 weeks?
It has been a while.
We've done this.
Yeah, I've missed you.
Did you? Well, it's nice to be missed. Thanks. Did you manage to stay out of jail, or any of that good stuff?
I was rallying. I was getting stuff done, and I felt bad for like not doing my Wednesday constitutional. Right, this is part of my Wednesday, so I was just going through topics. So I think we're set for topics to discuss for the next couple of months.
Nice.
So yeah, got a whole laundry list of things to talk about. So
yeah, it's funny. I took vacation. I needed it really, really badly. I was pretty burnt out, and the big theme, two things, well, three things really. The first theme that emerged on vacation was balance. And the reason I was so burnt out is because everything got out of balance. And so to kind of throw things back into balance, I know this might not be the smartest thing I did, but I totally yanked the wheel the other direction. Whereas before I was working 12 hours a day, I was struggling to work out, and I was trying to read and do all this other stuff. So all I did for 2 weeks was sit on the couch. I did not work out, and I played Xbox. I got a 77-inch UHD OLED 8K TV, biggin', and an Xbox X, and I played nothing but Call of Duty. I made it from level 0 to level 256.
Dang, that's some.
To ask Will about that. He'll tell you, wow, that's some serious time investment.
That is investment of time. So but obviously needed to relax.
Yes, needed to get back in the flow of stuff. Second big vacation discovery was we missed you too, Bob P. What's up, C Ray? The second big thing was I realized that I really need to focus in on the avatar, on avatar training and teaching people about their avatars and being able to define their ideal customers. We'll talk about that here in a minute. And then the third thing was I realized that I need to, I always come up with cool ideas for wizards and scripts. And so one Saturday when I was bored, I wanted to mess around with some scripts and some wizards. And my wife and I are going back on Weight Watchers. We've gone back on Weight Watchers. That was another thing. I've put on 25 pounds, and I'm not happy with where I am. So I made a wizard for Weight Watchers menu planning using the wizard, and it makes a 7-day menu with breakfast, lunch, dinner, 2 snacks, and dessert. And I loaded in all these because Weight Watchers is all about lists of what you can eat and what's 0 points and what's this other stuff. So I took all these lists and I turned it into a wizard where it randomly generates an entire menu every week, and then you can adjust every single aspect of it and then print it off in a Word document. It's pretty cool. So we're using that. The next thing for it to figure out on it is how to have it output a grocery shopping list as well. So based on the menu. So way to go, Jeff. Jeff said just lost 115 pounds using something like Weight Watchers. Good for you, dude. That's awesome. You lost a whole person.
Changing, man.
Yeah.
Good job.
Big time. Great for you. So that was kind of what I did with that. And I had some other cool wizard ideas for show segments and some other things that we'll be doing inside of the Jim Edwards Method Premium. Some cool stuff. When are you publishing the menu wizard? We're going to use it for a while, Carlin, and then I'll probably just put that out in the universe to help people. So the big thing and what we said in the email to tell people to get here was sharing the number one way that you can persuade people and motivate them and get them to buy. Really better than anything else that you can do. We're going to get to in just a minute. But Stu shared with me this morning obviously an important graphic about balance and stuff. And I don't know, Stu, do you want me to flash this up on the screen and you can talk about it? Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Flashed it up on the screen. Stu, you want to talk about it?
Yeah. I mean, you got to think of your life as a balancing act. Where we have on one side our personal, professional, and physical. I mean, if you think about the way our body gets stressed, it is through physical stress, it is through personal, and that can be relationships, emotional, thinking, the whole gamut there. And then professional, your work. And if you're a student, that's your professional time. If you're doing both, that's even more stress put on you. But the other side has to be in balance with everything that a lot of people skip. And they may not even be pushing themselves hard on the stress side, but if you're lacking on the recovery side, and that means just taking time to de-stress, sleep well, rest periods, good food and water, all of those things are very important. But number one is really kind of leaving the ego at the door, especially if you're hardcore on training. Now, a lot of people I deal with are maybe not too personally concerned about their stress, professionally not too concerned. They have a goal set for what they're going to do professionally, but they're just physical animals and they just push themselves really, really hard. And then all of this on the left has to be in perfect balance. Otherwise, it's going to fall apart and you're going to see a variety of, chronic stress related issues starting to show up. But I will say this, the recovery side has to be the number one focus. You have to actively pursue recovery, because it doesn't matter if you have the perfect balance over here on your stress side, everything's fine, you're not overdoing anything. But if you're underdoing any of these, it's the same thing as overdoing these. So it is a balancing act, and you got to have the right amount of force on both sides of that seesaw to make it work.
Well, and John just said, don't use my de-stress, heart attack in 11 days in the hospital. Well, I'm glad you're with us, John. But that's a great point, is that at some point your body and your life is going to swing you back into balance or is going to break. So you have to consciously adjust this thing to keep yourself on balance, because otherwise it's gonna hit one side or the other is going to hit, and your body's going to say, okay, enough. Okay, I don't care what you're saying. I don't care if you're saying you have to do this. We're done. I'm taking a break. And that's where I was getting real close to that breaking point.
Well, I'll share with you too. I was on the same side, several years ago when I had an injury that required surgery. And I was actually thinking, oh, I got to take a little break after this surgery. And if you
Right.
ever think you're taking a vacation because of surgery,
Right.
you might be overdoing it. Right? If
Right.
that's not the time to take vacations. That's not
Right.
the time to call it a vacation. That's not what you're going for here. So
Yeah.
same way,
Yeah.
same way with you. You took 2 weeks off of doing nothing,
Right.
but you put yourself at a point where you had to do that.
Right.
Otherwise, you were going to really start seeing the chronic disaster that is stress.
Yeah. If you're running towards a brick wall, stop running. I mean, you don't just slow down, stop running. So that was that's a good lesson. I like that. So let's talk for a minute about what the big thing that I've been thinking a lot about, and this is important. I'm actually doing a training on this inside of the Jim Edwards Method Premium here in 1 hour and 48 minutes. But the thing that I realized was teaching copywriting. All right. When looking at people's copywriting, looking at people's content, I realized that the question I was always asking, and I mean always asking, whenever they're like, well, it's not working, or what do you think, or is this any good, or is this a good start? I mean, all the different questions of, hey, Jim, I turned something out. It's either not working, I'm scared it won't work, or what do you think? The first question out of my mind or out of my mouth usually was, well, who is your target audience? Who is your ideal customer? Who is this aimed at? And their usual answer is like, oh, like, middle-aged guys that want to lose weight, or people that want to write a book, or people that want a greener lawn. And that's better than saying everybody, it's like, oh, everybody needs this. As soon as you hear anybody, you ask somebody who's the target audience for what you're selling, they say everybody, run. Because if you try to sell to everybody, it's the surest way to sell to nobody. But what I realized is that people need to learn how to define their avatar. And one of the things that I've taught and I teach in here is PQR, which is basically problems, questions, roadblocks. And we deal with some psychographics and stuff, but there's more to it than that. So what I realized, and I had been writing what I thought was going to be my second book, which was why people don't buy and what to do about it. Subtitle, I built my funnel, why am I not rich yet? And it's all the reasons why people don't buy and how to fix it with your funnel. But still, even with that, it's taking people further down the trail of, it's still, who is your target audience? So I realized, you know what, I need to put a pause on that book. And the next book I need to write is really the prequel to this one, which is going to be Secrets of the Avatar, is the name of that book. Not Secrets of the Avatar like the Disney movie, but Secrets of the Avatar. And I've been playing with the subtitle. Right now, the subtitle that I've got for it is How to Identify Your Ideal Customers' Emotional Hot Buttons to Connect, Persuade, and Sell Like Never Before. So, and it's really going to be about how to analyze and break down all of the important hot buttons, data points, psychographics that you need to know about your avatar, about your ideal customer, because everything flows from that. Your content marketing, your sales copy, your products. And one of the things that I see a lot is people envision that their ideal customer, their avatar, their audience, and their sales copy and their offer are separate. In other words, they're different planets. They exist separately and they come into alignment every once in a while, but it's not true. They're interconnected. They can't be separated. You You can't come up with an offer. You can't come up with your sales copy. You can't do that unless you really know who your avatar is. And so everything springs from that avatar. And that's why so much stuff is hit and miss, because the people who really hit, either consciously or subconsciously, have really defined their avatar, and they're aiming it towards the group. And the person that understands their group better is the one that usually will do better, because they're able to create better messages, create products that get the results that people really, really want. As opposed to a lot of people who struggle, who are like, oh, that looks like a good niche, and then they're just in it to try and make money, as opposed to, and that's fine to make money, but if you're going to pick a niche, you better go learn about the ideal customer. And that's one of the reasons why, again, you see people that sometimes are one-hit wonders. You see that a lot, actually. Somebody who comes into the market, they make a splash, they do well, and then they're chasing their past success forever. And one of the reasons I believe that happens is because, especially when we're getting started, we are our own avatar. We're selling to who we either are now or who we used to be. So intrinsically, we understand who that person is, what their needs are. Typically, we're selling a solution that we either created or we invented or we discovered or found some kind of way. So our message to market match is good. Our just those three things of the avatar, the sales copy, and the offer, all just by happenstance or happy luck, all intersect the way they should. But then you have success, and then you think your poop doesn't stink, and then you're like, oh, well, I can do anything. I did that early in business. I made a huge mistake like that. Like, hey, I'm cool. I can do whatever I want now. I've succeeded here, so obviously I can succeed at anything. And that launched me on a 9-year odyssey of unscrewing my life. So, the number one thing that we all need to do is get really, really clear on who our avatar is and what their hot buttons are. And their emotional hot buttons, because again, you're going to use those emotional hot buttons to write your stories. You're going to use them to create your copy, to create your content, to make your videos, to source or create or position your products. So, Stu, for example, I love using you as the example, and you hate being used as the example, which is why I love doing it, because it makes you uncomfortable. Any comments on what I've said so far? And then I want to use you as an example on something. I'm going to just ask you some questions to see how. Okay.
Sure. I have found that if I go back to my avatar wizard results, or my avatar article that I wrote. So I saw what the avatar wizard put out, and I was like, man, this is a perfect article. So I just pulled it over here and said, basically the title is this you? Right? Are you having these type of problems, And so I have found, like you said, it all kind of blends together. If I'm pulling at least a sentence or a paragraph from that article into a post or into a new article, it always puts me in the right mindset of how I am supposed to write this article.
Right.
If that makes sense. So it's almost like a little refresher. I almost treat the avatar like a warm up before I write an article.
Right.
And read it and go.
And the cool thing is that when you're in tune with the article, with the avatar, and you're using the hot buttons that are important to them, then when you use it, it creates that connection. They're like, I know this is important. And like, hey, that's important. That's at the core of what they say. Sales is all about entering the conversation already going on in the mind of your prospect or your ideal customer. Well, that's how you do it. You talk about what their hot buttons are. You don't talk about stuff they're not interested in. You talk about the stuff that they're interested in, and specifically what they're interested in that makes them emotional. because if it doesn't make them emotional, they're not going to pay attention. Eileen says, I use your avatar wizard all the time. Brilliant. That's awesome.
It is, absolutely. That mixed with a Halbert title, and I'm
Halbert headlines.
Halbert headlines, and I'm making Spec Ops candidates cry.
Yeah. Well, there you go. But that's a good thing.
Or laugh.
Right. So I'm just going to quiz you to see how well you know your avatar. Okay. So what is your avatar's current identity? Where are they now? When they first start with you?
Considering talking to a recruiter.
Okay.
For a military law enforcement firefighter position.
Okay. And what is their ideal identity? So they're here. Where do they eventually want to be?
I would say they want to be serving in some tactical profession.
So an elite unit.
Yeah. Ideally, I would say most people in my world want to go into the Spec Ops community. Yes.
Okay. So what is their number one roadblock? What's the number one external thing that's holding them back?
Their physical abilities.
Okay. All right. What their current physical abilities. Okay. What's their number one problem? What's their number one internal issue?
I would say doubt that they're doing the right preparation. Okay.
Now that's different than doubt of whether they can do it or not. It's doubt of whether or not they're doing the right stuff to prepare. That's a cool thing. So again, right there, just by knowing those things, at least in my mind, and knowing and having the access to the wizards, having access to the scripts and all that stuff, you can use those. I mean, just off the top of my head, the first one or that last one was doubt whether, are you doubting whether you're preparing the right way or not? Worried that you're not preparing the right way to try and get an X-ray contract? Worried that you aren't preparing the right way to get a SEAL contract? I mean, just right there, that question as the title of an article, as the subject line of an email, as even the headline on a page for a book or a bridge page for a book or an offer for a book, is that going to grab the attention of your avatar in an emotional way?
Yes.
And the reason for that is that, again, you hear this in a theoretical context all the time of you need to enter the conversation going on in the prospect's mind. I heard that from somebody else, and I'm going to say it because it sounded smart, and I'll sound smart by saying it. But how do you do that? Well, the way you do that is people are they're looking for something specifically. So imagine going to Google versus Facebook. So people either go and search for something specifically, like tactical training or how to get ready for buds or how to get ready for Green Beret selection or all these different things that you can search for. That means that's they're actually trying to have that conversation with someone or something. They're starting the conversation. The other way is like Facebook, where the stuff is feeding by and there are these ideas and these things bubbling under their mind, just under the surface of their mind all the time. And then it scrolls by and they see a thing that says, are you worried that you're not preparing right to get a buds contract? Or are you worried that you're not preparing right to get an X-ray contract? It's like, oh crap. Yes. It's like a raw nerve. It's not like a that's not bugging me. It's just slightly annoying to oh crap. I just touched a raw nerve on my tooth. That's something I'm interested in. And again, that's the difference, but you have to be able to hit it from both ways. And you can do it actually pretty easily when you know your customer's hot buttons. When you know the stuff that is, you know where the toothache is, you know where the raw nerve is, you know what the secret desire is that they wouldn't even say to a friend or to a loved one because it's so, privately greedy, of where they want to be, but you're the one who brings it out. Like, yeah, I really do want to drive a Ferrari. I really would like to be that old guy with white hair driving the sports car that the young guys look at and go, "What a jackass!" Remember when you were a kid and you saw the old guy driving the $100,000 Porsche and thinking, "What a jerk." And maybe you really do want to be that guy. I don't know, but if you do, check out XYZ. But you've got to know their hot buttons. That is the number one thing. And I don't know if it's just because I've finally paid attention after 25 or 30 years, or where this is just paying attention and really thinking, but it's all coalescing around this avatar. Is that the person who understands their avatar the best on an emotional level is the person that's going to win, especially when it comes to what we're doing online and with the short attention span that people have, and with all the competition and all the noise and other stuff like that. I really believe that the person who understands their avatar the best at an emotional level is the person who will win. So that's just that's the number one thing you got to be able to do, is you got to know your avatar better than anyone else.
Yeah, I like that. That's really solid. Yeah, I will say this. As far as no matter what you're selling, especially if you're selling something that is a training program, a preparatory program, something that takes your client on a journey to achieve a goal, no matter what type of performer or how smart that guy is or how tough that guy is or gal, there's always doubt if they're doing enough.
Yeah.
Right. And that is a very powerful emotion to find.
Yes.
If that's part of your, of your business. I'm not saying to exploit it, but to
you should exploit it
and address it in a way that makes people think, all right, here, I need to adjust my training. Exploit it. Okay.
Exploit it.
Yeah.
Mr. Pickles says you exploit the crap out of that, Stu. Because if you believe in your product, if you do what you're supposed to do, then you owe it to them to exploit their fears, their pains, their roadblocks, their long-term desires, their short-term desires. Because in the end, you know it's in their best interest, Stu.
I would agree.
All right. So somebody asked, fastest way to discover hot button issues versus annoyances. Here's the thing. I always, again, the way that you figure out whether something really is an issue or not is by what people do rather than what they say. And so the old thing of what you do speak so loudly, what you say I can't hear. And so you gotta, the way I've always looked at it is I'm looking for things that are like a chainsaw injury. Somebody who has almost cut their arm off with a chainsaw is not going to ask the ambulance driver, say, hang on a second, how much is that bandage going to cost me? How many stitches you think this is going to need? How long is this going to take for you to drive me to the hospital? Can I negotiate on the? No. If you've been cut with a chainsaw, you're like, ah! Just fix it. All right. That's where you want to be. Not, I got a hangnail. I guess when I go to Walmart, I'll look and see if they got a special on Band-Aids after I go by the kiosk over there at Starbucks and get me a half cap unicorn latte, maybe. That's an annoyance. It's like the difference between a acute pain versus a worry. Acute pain is I've been stabbed. A worry is kind of like a mild toothache. It's always there, but it might never be bad enough for you to actually go to the dentist. What you want is something that is so intense that people are looking for a solution and looking for it right now. Those are the hot buttons that you're looking for. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
So, cool. All right. Well, obviously, we'll be talking about this more in the future. If you guys, and that was a really good question. You know, what's the difference between a mild annoyance and a true hot button issue? That was a great question. So I think what we should do is transition to the podcast. What are we talking about again on the podcast?
We did not discuss that.
Oh, okay. Well,
so you know what I'm going to do here, Jim?
What? You said you had 2 months worth of lists.
I do, but we didn't. We never decided. I thought we were going to talk about more recovery stuff, but
okay.
But that's all right.
Let's talk about burnout. What you can do if you're feeling burnout. What do you guys, and those of you that are here with us live, if Stu and I talk about, how to recognize the signs of burnout in your business and how to recover or how to get over it, is that something that you would like for us to talk about? Does that sound like a good topic for the podcast? It's like pick a podcast, or you can make a suggestion.
Make a suggestion, and we will roll with it.
Make a suggestion is the other thing you can do.
Yeah, that's something we neglected to do prior to this going live. Was, hey, what are we going to talk about for the podcast?
I think we were supposed to talk about the avatar on the podcast, but
Yes.
I transitioned too fast to it.
Yeah,
because I wanted to talk about that. Vicky says yes. I got a new puppet, Stu. It's Smacker the insult dog. He wears a red Hawaiian shirt and sunglasses.
I like him.
He is cool. He had a cool voice too. But I pulled his voice box out. Okay, burnout versus overwhelm. That's interesting. Burnout is great. Lots of people face this. All right, we'll do that. Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, Jim Edwards here. Welcome back to the Sales Copywriting and Content Marketing Hacks podcast. I believe this is episode 106, but I'm not 100% sure. But luckily I have my trusty partner and podcast producer, Mr. Stu Smith here, who will know what the episode number is. What's up, Stu?
Hey, I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Is this
106.
Episode 106? Yeah. Oh, okay, cool.
If it is not, it is now.
There. So today, after careful thought and planning, and advanced warning as well as input from a live audience, we're going to be talking about burnout. What is burnout? Why does burnout happen? And what can you do to alleviate, or better yet, prevent burnout from happening? And then finally, what to do if you feel yourself experiencing burnout. And along the way, we will also talk about burnout versus overwhelm versus just being tired and being a whiny little punk. So, Stu,
yes,
what is burnout? Give us your definition of burnout.
Well, you know what? The symptoms is probably an easier way to describe this. Because overstressed would be one word for it. If you're an athlete, overtraining is another word for it. But typically we're all in some state of, we're having stress in our life and we're not recovering from it well enough.
Okay.
Can
I give my answer?
Burnout. Yes.
Okay. That's you getting all complicated. For me, burnout is just, I'm done. I don't want to do another push-up. I don't want to face another email. I mean, where there's like a physical aversion to doing what you know you should be doing or you're supposed to be doing. Literally in your gut, you feel sick at the thought of answering another email, answering a phone, reading another page in a book, or paying attention to anything. It's just, I'm physically done. Don't want to think, don't want to look, don't want to do nothing. That's what I think burnout is.
And you know what you should do when that occurs,
Smoke some legal pot.
you should actually
Take a
listen to
nap.
yourself. Listen to yourself and don't do anything.
Okay.
Relax.
Drink hard liquor. I mean, what?
Just
Hard liquor and
don't
drinks are-
self-medicate. Just relax.
Okay.
Just relax. That's where a lot of people just fail, because I know when I'm starting to see signs of burnout, and I get it every day. You know, at the end of the day, I'm tired. You know, I'm
Yeah.
ready to go to sleep. You know, that is a small symptom of it. If you don't
Right.
listen to that and you stay up all night, you're gonna really feel it the next day. Right. And you'll get nothing done. Right. So, you know, underperformance, mood disturbances, psychological changes. I mean, that's when things start getting really bad. And then the final nail in the coffin is when it starts disrupting your sleep, because sleep is our number one recovery tool for any stress, whether it's personal, professional, physical, whatever stress that we can put on ourselves. Sleep is our number one recovery tool. And if you're not sleeping well, you're not recovering enough.
You sound all them fancy words and stuff you used at the beginning of that. You sound like you really know what you're talking about.
Well, thank you. I've seen this a few times, especially on the guys, you know, what in my business, you know, I see guys that are constantly towing a line between training and overtraining. And then they go another line above that, and it's between mental toughness, right? Pushing yourselves when you can't do anymore. And there's a line of mental toughness and stupidity, right? And stupidity is just when you're starting to hurt yourself, you're not able to recover in a 24-hour period. You know, all these little things start snowballing. Next thing you know, your performance drops, you're not sleeping, and then it gets really bad. And then you start seeing chronic signs of stress, which can be depression, loss of libido, loss of ability to.
Loss of libido?
Yep, that is true. Where's Mr. Pickles? He has something.
You don't want to have that. Drink a pickle juice.
Yes, but anyway, there's so many different, you know. Then emotional distress, you know, fatigue.
And I think it's interesting because there's no real separation between the physical and like a desk jockey like I am to a large degree, sitting in front of a desk. You might think, you know, there's a difference between the burnout, somebody who's in a physically intensive profession or not. But I think the symptoms are all the same. What you're talking about, and one of the biggest symptoms that I was experiencing was of, I don't want to say avoidance, but just, you know, I'm getting this done, but God, I wish I was doing anything else but this, and I'm so
it's a
tired
lack of
of this.
motivation. You lose motivation to do the things that you used to enjoy.
And even to the point of, I know that not doing this is going to, it's like the consequences of not doing it are not that, and if you're feeling normal, would be like, if I don't get this done, some bad stuff's going to happen. I need to just get this done, to the point of, I don't care that this isn't done and it doesn't matter. I just don't care what happens if I don't do this. And that's kind of the place where I was getting to. After weeks and 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 weeks of just nonstop 7 days a week. And I think we all want to avoid getting to that place. We'll talk at the end about what to do if you are in that place, you know, of just various dispensaries for legal marijuana, or finding your local liquor store through Google. But I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But what's your number one strategy other than sleep for maintaining that balance and avoiding that, avoiding just even starting down the trail of burnout?
Well, I'm going to tell you the number one method to help yourself calm down and not necessarily be overstressed is breathing.
Okay.
You just got to learn how to breathe. I mean, we breathe every day that we're alive. So you should get good at it. You know, just because you do it doesn't mean you're good at it, right? So you need to inhale. There's a little term called box breathing that I would recommend people starting off with, which is just a 4-second inhale, a 4-second hold. Think you're like you're making a little box. 4-second inhale, 4-second hold, 4-second exhale, 4-second hold, and just go in like that. Now, if you want, you can add a few more seconds and get a longer exhale. That's fine too, as you get a little bit better at it. But if you just want to start off with just practicing your breathing and
You do it through your
realizing,
nose or mouth?
I like breathe in through my nose and exhale through my mouth.
Okay.
Some people do in and out through their nose, but the best way to do it is in your nose for sure. Right?
Okay.
Exhale can go either way.
For how long, Stu? Like how many reps, Stu?
You know,
how long?
it doesn't take very long. If you do it for just a couple of minutes, you will notice a physiological difference.
Really? Okay.
Yes. A couple minutes. You do it for longer than that, even better. What I like to do is when I can feel it and it's starting to disrupt my productivity at work, is I just go out 10 minutes, go for a walk, and I do box breathing the whole walk, getting fresh air, get outside, get fresh air, and then come back in ready to roll. You know, it just takes 10 minutes to just, you know, get some of those initial feelings of like you're starting to burn yourself out, you know, when you start being less productive and you have obtrusive thoughts that you're not really able to focus. Time to get outside and breathe some air.
Gordon says, "Ha, doing it right now, relaxing." There you go. Gordon's always up for anything, man. So sorry, I don't have COVID or anything. That was a little cough. So I guess the next thing is my number one tip. If you feel yourself starting to just, I guess what we need to make a distinguishing remark about is there's a difference between burning out for the day,
yes,
and burning out like for life,
for months,
for months and stuff. And that's what you don't want to do. Burning out for the day or for the week, that's, you know, it's probably a nutrition, a hydration, and sleep. Other issue, taking those little 10-minute breaks. I'm starting to do those 10 yoga poses in 10 minutes.
Oh yeah,
that you sent.
Yep.
I suck at them, man. They suck.
Yeah, they hurt.
But you know, when you get done with that, you're like, oh crap, the other stuff I was doing wasn't that bad. So maybe if you're feeling bad about what you're doing, go slam your hand in a car door, and then you're like, oh damn, that stuff I was doing wasn't that bad after all. Or do a plank pose for a minute, and you're like, ooh, this sucks.
Yeah.
Let's do something else. But I think that's a different thing than burning out. Like, I am burnt out on life. I'm burnt out on work. I'm burnt out on this relationship type stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a short term and a long term version of this, and the long term version of this, you know, is basically, if you look it up, is chronic stress. Right. Your stress becomes chronic, and that's when all those numbers that you get at your annual doctor's physical, those become all jacked up, from triglycerides, your cholesterols, your blood pressure, your sugar levels. You know, all of those are starting to get affected by your stress or your ability to mitigate that stress.
Right. And I want to give a little disclaimer right now that neither of us is a medical professional. Neither of us is dispensing medical, psychological, or other advice. This is for entertainment purposes only, and you should consult your attorney, tax preparer, or veterinarian for any specific advice you might need. So I think, though, I can actually give some psychological advice I got from Bob Newhart, where he did a skit where he was a doctor, and the person came in and said, "Hey doc, it hurts when I do this." And Bob Newhart said, "Well, don't do that." And so when you're feeling stressed, no, honestly, I mean, now I'm being serious. One of the things that I did while I was sitting there playing Xbox in between rounds was to say, what got me so burnt out? What got me here? And part of it was just working too damn much. Just working too much. The whole, and okay, why was I working so much? Well, because all this COVID stuff happened and we're sitting at home, and all the things that I used to do to take a break, to get out, to go, go to Walmart and watch the Walmartians while Terry, shopped. And I bitched about the fact that she went down every aisle, but it was actually a way for me to unplug. Just all those things that used to be there weren't there anymore. So it's like, okay, well, I'm home, I'm in my office, I should be working. And so that's what started it all, was all the things that were programmed into my life to have balance were gone. And so I was stuck at home, and what's at home? Home is work, right? And driving my wife nuts. So not in the, we just got married driving her nuts way, but in she's going to chase me with a baseball bat and I hope she doesn't catch me type of nuts. And I isolated that that's what was going on. And that instead of working 10 hours a day, I started working 14 hours a day because I was there. It was just kind of like, it was just there. I needed to stop it and get back to the routine that made me the happiest. And that's going to mean saying no to some stuff. It's you're going to have to take some things off of your plate. And going to have to say no. When is enough enough? I mean, we're not in the income Olympics. Life is not a race from birth to death where you're trying to come in first. I want to come in old, slow, and last. Now I still want to be able to do a burpee when I'm in my 90s, but I don't have to be able to do 50 when I'm in my 90s.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing, is that you got to, if you're feeling burnout, you got to ask yourself, why am I feeling burnout in the short term? Could be you didn't get enough sleep. Could be, you're watching TV too close before you're trying to go to bed, instead of, reading a book or something that helps you go right to sleep. You watch TV, you'll stay up 2 extra hours. You read a book, it's like, after 2 pages, but just asking the question of, why am I feeling this way? And then being open to and honest about the answer that you get. And also, I mean, looking back, I was giving my wife all kinds of hell because she's like, we need to take vacation. If we're not going to Aruba this year, then we got to go to the beach house. We got to do something. I'm like, nah, I can't. I don't want to. I got too many things. Blah, 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 blah. And it became a real source of friction.
Irritability is a symptom as well.
Oh, dude, then I had that symptom from about 5 minutes after I woke up to 5 minutes after I went to sleep. I was pissed off going to sleep. I mean, anything. It's like, hey, honey, what do you want for dinner? Stop criticizing me. What? It's like, oh, crap. And then about halfway through the vacation, I'm like, hey, this was a really good idea. Then she got pissed. I'm like, this is a really good idea. She's mad, but in a good way. So I love my wife. She's awesome. But I don't ever want to get that way again. And I think in order to not get that way, you have to consciously live your life on a daily basis to avoid getting to that point. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, everything has to be in balance.
Yeah. The problem is, okay, but let me ask you this. I would love your advice on this. But every once in a while, something happens.
Yes.
Where by just the nature of it, things have to get thrown out of balance to a degree. Or what happened to me was Russell Brunson was doing the 5-day lead challenge and then was doing the one funnel away challenge. And after I'd done a whole bunch of other stuff, and when I was supposed to be winding down, it was like, okay, this is going to be 5 weeks of every day, 7 day a week intensity, creating my part for that whole thing. And part of me was like, okay, I'm just going to have to go balls to the wall, and I'm just going to have to kind of accept the consequences when it's done. And it's like you have an opportunity, but then you don't want to miss out on the opportunity. But if you take the opportunity, it's gonna throw everything out of whack. What do you do? I couldn't say no. I guess I could have said no, but it would have really affected my business. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, very similar to the balancing thing that we showed earlier. In fact, let's show it again, if you would, for the podcast, because this will be a separate show from our Jim and Stu show we did prior to this. So when you take on more on the right-hand side of that balance of the balancing act of life,
Yeah.
you have to make sure you are actively checking out everything on the left side of that as well. Make sure your sleep is better. Make sure you're eating well, you're hydrating, you're getting your electrolytes, everything, your amino acids are a natural way to metabolize stress hormones, right? So the proteins that you bring in, good ones, will help you metabolize some stress hormones. The antioxidants will help you metabolize some of the post-stress events that occur on the cellular level, right? I mean, so nutrition is so important. Sleep is so important. And then, like you said, just taking 10 minutes of de-stressing time. And sometimes you do have to check your ego at the door, because that's the hardest part. Oh, I got this. I can do this. And sometimes you need to actually rest and take a break. Otherwise, it becomes chronic.
Right.
And, on a physiological level, stress is stress. It doesn't know if the difference between I can't pay this bill at the end of the month, I got this deadline I have to meet, or I got bullets flying over my head. The same stress hormones course through your body no matter what that event is, right? So you have to learn how to metabolize those. And you do that with all those recovery techniques we mentioned earlier. But, breathing is a great one as well. But like I said, to keep it in balance, you also have to realize our bodies are built with two different nervous systems. Did you know this? We have
the sympathetic and the parasympathetic.
There you
right?
go. Google that if you're not understanding what we're talking about. You got the sympathetic side that is charged up. It is driven by energy. It is driven by adrenaline and stress hormones. It is you getting jacked up, getting ready for whatever that is. Might be a fight or flight response. It might be just a normal stress response to a busy schedule, right? That sympathetic nervous system is getting wired. However, the parasympathetic side, think of it like a parachute. It's bringing you back down nice and slowly, is really in charge of deregulating all of that energy that's over here in the sympathetic system and helping you come back to a normal status, right? In a nice little equilibrium, a nice little balance, right? And you do that through breathing and, good nutrition. Breathing is the number one, and sleep. All of those things have to be in balance. Otherwise, when you're taking on a lot of stress on the right, it can become chronic. Now, we've all done it. We've all gotten overstressed until we just needed to take a break and needed to rest. It's not something that I don't think we can avoid necessarily, but if you can be observant of some of those symptoms that we mentioned, you can avoid the total burnout when you actually become unproductive, sick, injured, all of those things that are going to prevent you from your normal schedule. That is when burnout becomes bad.
Right. And I think that just takes us right back to the everyday being conscious of what's going on, so that it's like putting out a campfire. You have your campfire, but make sure you put the campfire all the way out so that the wind doesn't pick up when you walk away and burn the whole forest down. I mean, it's paying attention on a daily basis rather than just letting it go and saying I'll fix it later. So very cool. That's some great insights, dude. Thank you. That was really good. I think we're gonna end with that. And we appreciate everybody here who joined us for the podcast live. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Those of you who joined us live on our website, you went to jimandstewshow.com. You can catch us every Wednesday, unless we're on vacation, at 9 a.m. Eastern for the pre-show where we talk about cool stuff, and then joining us on the podcast where we talk about cool stuff. We're just two cool guys talking about cool stuff, Stu.
That's what we do.
We pull our pickles out and show them to everybody. Woohoo!
Mr. Pickles. So appreciate everybody. Thanks for joining us. And we will see you next time on the Jim and Stu Show. Bye-bye, everybody.